r/AskReddit by Reddit watchers. Twins of Reddit. What's your embarrassing story involving your twins partner? My husband has an identical twin. When my husband and I got engagement photos done, Facebook automatically tagged my husband's brother in a bunch of our photos. And I posted them without realizing. My identical twin brother got married and FB kept asking me if I wanted to tag myself in wedding photos of him and his wife. I went to a funeral of a friend's father. I had no idea that the deceased had an identical twin. It felt really strange to see the guy in the coffin sat at the front row of the church. Must have been even weirder for him. Was going down an escalator at a casino. Look across and see my brother. Get the excites and yell, "Hey bro." Start waving for his attention. Was waving to myself in a mirror. My twin did that at our work. He was walking to his car and looked in the window and saw me walking parallel to him and got excited and waved. He first was confused how I was waving at him at the same time. Then realized it was just a reflection. Haha. I'm not a twin, but dated one of two twin brothers in high school. The other twin also had a girlfriend at the school. One day, someone in my class pulls me aside to nervously tell me he thinks my boyfriend is cheating on me. He was fairly new at the school and didn't know yet there were twins. It gave us all a good laugh when the story got around and the guy was pretty relieved to hear there was no cheating going on. Okay, but shout out to that guy for seeing what he thought was a bad situation and taking immediate action on it. My girlfriend told me about a production of Twelfth Night that was able to cast identical twins for the main role. At one point one of them walked off one side of the stage and the other walked on from the opposite side in a different costume seconds later. Most of the audience just thought they were doing really fast quick changes. In the version they used for the DVD, a guy in the audience near the camera very loudly said, "What the duck?" when this happened. Hopefully they nailed the prestige. That's what sells the trick. My identical twin brother, my wife, and myself all went to school together and got jobs at the same place after passing boards. Since there are some rules regarding family working together, I was not hired to the same unit as my wife, but my twin was. It was a lot of fun, taking lunches together, etc. But there was one social worker who just couldn't grasp that my brother and wife were not the married ones. She'd compliment me on how cute they were together, comment on social media how great a couple they were, even talk about how much my kids take after their dad, referring to him. It's all benign and we laugh about it, but she really laid it on thick. My twin brother died in a car wreck and my family suggested that I should date his girlfriend because, grief, I guess. Real duck and awkward. Mom. That's a ducked up thing to say. I got pranked by my girlfriend, an identical twin, a few months ago. There is no point where a guy is more vulnerable than immediately after orgasm. Everything is just drained. Knowing this, my girlfriend awaited this moment one morning. Immediately after I finished, she looked up at me, took a deep sigh, and said, "Don't tell," her name, while mimicking her sister's mannerisms. I freaked the duck out, pulled my receding member out, and flipped out of the bed in what I can only describe as an emotional clusterfuck. It was only as I came to my senses that I noticed my girlfriend giggling helplessly. It was then that I knew that I am dating the evil twin. Okay, that is a better version of the twin swap sex fantasy. My dad and uncle are twins. 2/3 times a year they'll show up to dinner or they'll be at each other's houses wearing the exact same outfit, only different brands. At first it was funny, but now we know it just happens. People mix them up all the time. Multiple times a month they're telling people they're not the other. Haha. Acquaintances and work associates have thought they're having an affair. My dad was confronted once and had to explain to the guy, who was a couple drinks in apparently, that he's not his brother. An actual story from when they were kids. They're almost 3 years and share a room with 2 wooden frame twin beds. That Christmas they got a plastic tool chest toy set thing. My grandma says it wasn't more than 3 weeks after Christmas when she goes into their room and the beds are completely taken apart. The head and footboard bolts were removed, the slats were removed and separated. They had no idea how it happened. My grandpa called up the company handyman who put it back together. couple days later, same exact thing, only my grandparents are pissed now. They got rid of the wood bed frames and got 2 metal cots with the springs, which lasted about a week. My grandma walks into their room and found one of the beds completely taken apart, each spring removed. The twins, though they were working together on the second cot. One of them was grabbing the fabric and pulling it to ease the tension, and the other was using the back of the plastic hammer to pry out the spring. They ended up losing tool chest privileges. This is great. Did they grow up to use those talents? I tried to date this girl from class and we were going out on dates and everything, but out of nowhere she stopped talking to me because her friends saw me with another girl, my twin sister, at the movies and thought I was playing her, but they didn't know I have a twin sister. What happened afterwards? Did things end there? My ex was once scrolling through FB and said, "You look really hot in this photo." It wasn't me. I have been married to an identical twin for 10 years. I have been on Facebook for the entire time. Facebook always tries to tag her twin sister in any photo I have ever posted of my wife. Every single time. Never once has it suggested my actual wife. Like, WTF. Wouldn't FB algorithm figure it out by now? This is actually my friend's story. She went to see a play at a university with her identical twin. His sister said that there was a shortcut to the theater by cutting through some class building. My friend didn't think that made sense. But her sister seemed confident about it. So she followed along. Then suddenly her sister opens a classroom door and says, "Let's go in here." My friend goes inside and freaks out when she sees a bunch of paintings of what looks like herself. Completely naked. It turns out her sister had posed nude for an art class and thought that would be a fun surprise. This sounds like how Phoebe's twin Ursula does porn. My sisters are twins. Their favorite story is when one of their boyfriends tries to show the wrong twin this weird ass mole on his butt cheek. Both sisters are extremely squeamish. So boyfriend thought it was just her being grossed out. Unfortunately, my dad walked in on him chasing the wrong twin around the kitchen with half of his butt hanging out. My dad just turned around and walked out. That boyfriend also had a thing for eating raw vegetables like onions, garlic, and potatoes. Edit. The raw vegetables thing was weird because he'd find them in the kitchen and start snacking on them like they were apples or a cupcake. Garlic and onions are a thing. Sure. But the potato was weird. He got them all removed at both of my sister's requests. My sister and him broke up after she lost him at a mall and had him pages over the intercoms. He felt like a child. In her defense, he was on those little mall trains riding around and he had her car keys. They're still friends though. Sister's update on him. He's now a pediatric cancer doctor. He is a lovely weirdo and has since married a wonderful woman. Has a full soccer team of kids. My sister and her husband had dinner with them last Christmas time. He really grew into his childishness, as it now helps him with his patients. Wife loves his silliness. Edit 2. My sisters shared this to him. He says there's nothing wrong with eating raw vegetables, but the potatoes were originally a joke that started getting too big and became part of his identity. It made others laugh and made people around him open up more and be comfortable with who they were. Or so he claims. He says to do yearly mole checks. Have a friend or partner, but not your partner's twin, help you identify any concerning moles. Follow ABCD on moles. Asymmetry. Border. Color. Diameter. Evolving. And wear sunscreen. I don't know why, but this made me crack up LMAO. I've told this story before, but it's even more fitting here. My identical twin sister was dating the president of a fraternity on campus. And during one of the frat's date night events she went with her BF and I was set up as a date for one of his brothers. Towards the end of the night I got separated from my date. And my sister's extremely drunk boyfriend put his arm around me while sis was in the bathroom. BF leaned in to kiss me. Venue was super dark, so I think it was an honest mistake, so I backed up to set the record straight. He asked if I was down for a threesome with my own twin sister. I still feel bad for ditching my date, but shudders I had to get out of there ASAP. Dad's friend is a twin. Lives in Chicago. His twin brother lives in Boston. On the same day, Both twins fell off a ladder and broke the same leg. There's another comment in this thread where twins broke their arms. What's going on? There was a ducked up story about the twins in my country. 2 baby girls were swapped in hospital, and one twin came back home with other family. Their daughter stayed with her twin sister. Girls were completely different, but the family thought they are just not identical twins. They found out the truth when all 3 girls were in high schools. The real twins were constantly called differently and strangers would approach them and say hi. They lived in a relatively small town. So finally some common friends organized their meeting. Although they look identical, they are completely different people. Egg. One of them likes metal music and wears black clothes. The story didn't end up well. Although they sued the hospital, both families are devastated by the whole story. There was an almost identical, or is it the same, case in Poland. The only difference was that the town wasn't that small. The weirdest part was that when 2 twins met by chance they thought it was super funny, and were hanging out with each other for months before it occurred to them to talk to either parents. Not embarrassing, but my twin sister is dating a guy that friend-zoned me. Edit, I'll add some context. I really liked this one guy. Super nice and funny and smart, and he was pretty cute too. I confess that I liked him and got friend-zoned. It's done and he stopped talking to me after that, which totally sucked. A month later or so my sister told me about the same guy and how they both liked each other. I was pretty sad about it. Not gonna lie. But they've been dating for almost 3 months now and they're a cute couple. It does sting when she tells me how great they're doing and how he is always at our house. But she's happy. So it's okay. Another edit. I'm not mad at my sister. I love her. I'm so happy she found someone that likes her for her true self and her uniqueness. Sometimes things happen, and it can suck. But that's just how life is, y'all. Start dating his dad. That'll show them both when you're his mom. I was with my twin brother at the supermarket this one time. And judging from this story I'm guessing that obviously we look the same from the back. But not exactly the front because I'm a female. My brother's girlfriend was shopping at the same store as us that day and comes up behind me and smacks my bottom saying hey love. Jokingly I turn around and say it back. The look on her face made me regret what I did. I want to be able to picture that face. Please describe it. Mr. Clark. I grew up in a small town where if you were walking down the road and your neighbors were outside, you smiled and waved. For years, I would take walks as a kid. Smiled and waved all the time to a dear old gentleman. Mr. Clark. I was sad when I learned he passed away. He was well liked in the community. A couple of weeks after he passed, I went for a walk. As I approached his house, I saw a familiar face. It was Mr. Clark. Mr. Clark was dead. A chill went through me. I felt frozen but yet able to walk. I felt sheer terror. In that second, it was confirmed. Ghosts are real. But no one would believe me. So I kept it to myself. For a couple of weeks, I saw Mr. Clark in his yard a couple of times and I hurried on by his house as fast as I could. I couldn't take it anymore, so I mentioned Mr. Clark to my bestie's mom who lived 3 houses down from Mr. Clark. Mr. Clark was a twin. The happy twin passed and the curmudgeon Clark was still alive and kicking. I will never forget the feeling of nearly losing my bowels the first time I saw Ghost Clark after he passed. I will also never forget the laughter my friend's mom couldn't hold back when I told her my ghost story. Curmudgeon. Upvoted purely for teaching me this word. Plus, good story. Ghost Clark. My twin brother is gay, so early in high school before people knew he had a twin I was groped by a gay man. I feel like if you are dating or interested in someone, you should probably inform them that you have a twin. There's a lot of unnecessary groping in this thread. Only tangentially related to topic, but I feel like sharing. On my last day as manager of a restaurant, a new girl was hired. I continued to drink there, and she and I got to know each other a little. Mostly just drink and smoke. Gave her a ride here and there. Texted and such. Went on for a year. Then I started seeing her fairly frequently at a new place. She'd always hug me and seemed genuinely happy to see me. It was nice. I could feel real affection in her hugs. One day I saw her, and everything seemed like usual, but I didn't feel anything when we hugged. I was confused, but I figured maybe it was my imagination since I hadn't done anything wrong. TBH. It really bothered me. I thought about it all week. Then the next week I saw her with her identical twin. I was surprised and very relieved. Turns out it happens all the time, and her sister plays along as if she knows me because it's faster than explaining. TLDR. I can't visually tell the difference between identical twins, but I can tell the difference between sincere and insincere hugs. Also, now that I know, even though they appear identical, it's easy to tell the difference. Make sure to like and subscribe so we can watch together.